That's
Wow.
why I assume LiDAR is making such headway in those areas, because,
Yeah, so yeah, that's actually I would love to talk about LiDAR.
yeah, go
Yeah,
for
That's
it.
so
please
cool.
do.
Do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
What is
LiDAR
LiDAR to start with?
for anybody that doesn't
Ah,
know,
sorry.
no.
Go ahead, continue, LiDAR. Sorry. So I was really trying not to say something, but I that was really disappointing. I just
Oh, you were doing so well. We're gonna get it, Mike. We're gonna get it.
Welcome everyone to Archaeology Arcade, the online program of the Florida Public Archaeology Network. I'm Mike out of FPAN's Coordinating Center in Pensacola. Joining me as always is Tristan, our public archaeologist out of our Tallahassee office. Tristan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to seeing you get chased by scorpions again.
Or who knows what kind of insects we'll find this time. I don't know. And then joining us for the first time, the one, the only Rachael Kangas. She's a public archaeology coordinator for FPAN Southwest region. And she does so much awesome stuff. I'm sorry that you do Facebook Live videos, but you didn't have one yesterday because you were doing some field work. So how are you doing, Rachael?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on. This is exciting. I have never played this game. I'm very excited to see what it holds. But yeah, yesterday I was out. I'm a scientific diver, so I have to keep current with my diving. So I was out doing a few dives yesterday to keep up with my scientific diver status.
That's awesome. Any like dive sites in particular, or you just kind of were just out doing
So we were attempting to go to shipwreck sites, but there, as anyone who's done underwater archaeology knows, everything often changes at the last moment. So we ended up diving on a reef site and just testing out some gear. We got a 360 camera.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
neat.
I'm processing the images from that. So hopefully I'll be able to post some cool 360 videos and images to our social media soon.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, very
and
cool.
so can you this game Archaeology X, we've actually played it once before. We had Janine Johnson on, who's been on a few times. But this game has two different locations. The last one we did was supposed to be in Cairo, Egypt. And of course, none of us have any idea about the history really or the archaeology of Egypt, at least the three of us who played that game. And so it was kind of interesting. So we wanted to bring you on for this one because apparently I guess this is supposed to take place in Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, I guess. But when it said go to on the go to screen, it said Inca, which I think the Inca were in South America, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this is we're not off to a good start here.
setting our maybe that was a trick. They're setting the bar really low, so we'll be excited. And so my understanding too is that you've actually done some field work in Central America. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I've gotten to work. I did 2 field seasons in Belize. So this was all during my master's thesis. So I stopped doing Maya archaeology about 6 years ago. So when I was, thinking about today, I was like, okay, so this is basically all just like a fever dream induced by stress and coffee during grad school. So I'm going to do my best, but it's going to be a very broad brush that I'm able to offer. But I do know that Inca and Yucatan, Mexico do not quite mix.
So.
Right. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, are you two ready to go? So I actually have, usually Tristan is the one with the controls, but this time it's me. And so, finally, Tristan, you get to pay me back for all the times that I've made fun of you falling off of things.
I would never.
All right, I'm gonna hit play, and we'll see what this game is all about. And so, yeah, the last game that we definitely had there were some ethical kind of issues with the last map that we played. So I assume we'll have the same sort of issues with this one, but I guess we'll just have to find out.
They were doing some interesting attempts at some things, like marking out a site and that kind of thing. And I remember the journal was really good, actually.
Right.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
It looked like all handwritten. This is.
Well, I'm already digging.
That's how we roll.
This is us. This is our outfit. I picked a female this time again. Oh wow, look at all these flies. Is that accurate? Did you have to deal with a lot of flies when you did field work?
Not quite this many, but yeah, there are lots of bugs. Lots of bugs to deal with. I feel like that's just a field work in general concern, though, is flies and bugs and scorpions and snakes.
Maybe she needs to bathe. Actually, that's. It
She's
could be
got
all
her
it is.
water bottle. That's key.
Key.
And
Very
so
important.
up here in the top left, I don't know if you guys. Oh, maybe you can kind of see it. It says relics found so far 0. We have not done any relics. Our health is 80%. Maybe that's why there's so many flies around us. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're dying or something. Food is 20%, and our water is 40%. So yeah, basically, I guess the idea, and I'm trying to remember the controls here. Oh, we found a banana.
Good
All right,
job.
that's good.
Oh, okay.
Didn't we find bananas in the Cairo one too?
Or
maybe it was
coconuts, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there should be okay, here's a map. All right, there's a map. There we go. And then this is here's our journal. All right, it says December, 27th December, and a little Christmas tree.
Aw,
Okay.
okay.
What a surprise. Just came home from a meeting in the city at the National Museum. I have permission, funding. Basically, they're backing for an expedition to South America. Mexico? Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Mexico is definitely not in South America.
Yeah,
Right?
big geographical issue. Right off the
Okay.
bat.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
All right.
where are we then would be the question. If they
I
think
guess
they're
you
in South
we're-
America and Mexico, then we could be
Maybe
anywhere.
they're trying to make it ambiguous because it can be either one.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. Okay, so here's the planned itinerary. We have water, food, our equipment: a spade, a trowel, tape, oil for lamp, tent, camping gear, medical, vehicle, travel, fixers, maps, museum, radio. That's good to have. Bribes.
Wow.
Whoa.
All right,
There's
hotel,
a bit to
rent,
unpack there. Yeah.
mortgage, cash. All right, so how does this, measure up to what you would really need in the field? Is this
Oh, jeez.
the bribes?
I mean, I never had to bring oil for a lamp to any field
Right.
site I've been on.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
Mike and I were talking about. We're not really sure when this is supposed to be taking place either.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like-
that's a good point.
Like it
Yeah.
shows you flying in a fairly looks like a bomber to me, but it's an older prop plane. So it could be said a while ago. One thing I noticed that was missing was a screen,
Oh yeah, yeah. Good
because
point.
you would definitely be carrying at least a little screen with you.
She doesn't care about the small bits and pieces
Right.
of broken pottery. She wants the whole vessel. Come on,
Right,
you can't.
because that's, yeah.
Wow. Should also avoid employing or paying other helpers if at all possible. I just do not have the money to do so. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should actually work with the local community. Wow. Okay.
She's just going to talk to them and not pay them.
And
for
take their
any-
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just take their heritage. Great.
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
This is very colonialist.
It
Very
is.
colonialist.
This is not as good as Nancy Drew, as far as that goes.
No, Nancy Drew is actually really well done.
Yeah.
compared to- Okay,
Yeah.
so it says Maya. So from what is documented, the Maya civilization was one of the great pre-Columbian civilizations found throughout northern Central American regions, including present-day Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, South Mexico, and West Honduras. It's interesting they say it Inca, and then they were like South America, but I wonder why they got their facts so mixed up.
Yeah,
wonder-
everything seems to be in line except for the Inca on the
We keep-
first page. So actually,
yeah.
can you go back a page? I want to
Yeah,
point.
sure.
So one thing that people mess up quite a bit about Maya archaeology, and they do it right once here and they do it wrong the second time. So in this paragraph that you're reading, that from what is documented, the Maya civilization.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about Maya archaeology, buildings, people, anything like that, you always say Maya. The only time you say Mayan with an N is if you're talking about the language. So they get it right
Mm.
the first time, and
Oh.
then down like halfway through the paragraph, she says Mayan cities, which is incorrect.
That's
Right.
cool. I wonder how Nancy Drew did on that one, actually.
Yeah, we should go back and check that.
I think
Yeah.
I think it failed on that metric
Yeah.
as well, actually.
So it's one of those, so like if you're talking to somebody about arrowheads and they pull out like a giant point and you're like, that is not quite correct.
Right,
Look,
right.
an
All
arrow-
of a sudden, it's like, I'm trusting what you're saying a tiny bit less now because you're calling this an arrowhead.
Right.
It's kind of a Maya version of
From a
that, if they're using
Interesting.
Maya
Prehistoric
versus Maya.
ballista.
Yeah. So you said you worked in Belize. Is that
Yes.
right? And so
Yeah.
how can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with that and what it was like?
Oh yeah, so I went to University of Central Florida for my for grad school, and my advisors ran a site in Belize. So they've been running that site for over 30 years now. So I got to do field work with them, and it was, I mean, it was intense and really an amazing like first big, cut my teeth in archaeology experience. Like I had done a field school in Alabama before that, which was sleeping in a tent for a month. But this was, we were in the jungle in thatch huts. It was very no cell service. Like you had to stand on the edge of a cliff to like use a cell phone, and we all like went in on minutes together. So it was a very remote site. There are lots of sites in Belize that are not that remote, and a lot of them are actually really accessible, which is cool for tourism and people learning about the culture. But yeah, so I got into my archaeology in grad school.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so was that the first time you had like really traveled outside the United States, or you had done some traveling before then?
I'd done a little bit in undergrad. Like I went to Peru on like an alternative spring break, and then to Guatemala twice in undergrad.
Yeah.
But this was the first time I traveled to do archaeology.
Right.
So it was an interesting experience, really.
Right. Yeah. And how long were you there for?
So each field school or field season that I did was between 2 and 3 months. So, and we flew over. So I had one checked bag and like my carry-on, and I had to fit all of my bedding, all of my, like everything I was going to need except for food for 2 months. And in that, so that was the biggest challenge. And it was really fun after that when I would travel and I was like, oh, I don't actually need to fit a mattress in here and like a pillow. Cool. All right. I have so much more room in my carry-on luggage now.
Right. Did you have to cross any bridges like this?
I did not. I'm looking at these bridges. Luckily, we did not. Yeah.
I almost fell a couple times. As you can see, she's an excellent jumper. Her vertical skill at jumping is just incredible.
I'm not sure I'd be jumping on these bridges though.
No, I was really trying to jump back on the bridge after falling off of it. So I really have no idea. So in this game, you basically have a shovel, and based on the one we did in Egypt, you basically just like randomly dig around, and they have some way of marking sites off so you can find them again on a map.
Okay.
But also, I think in the last one, it said something about you can actually sell artifacts to museums. So, of course, that would be, very unethical and
they're like
modern archaeologists.
This is such an interesting game.
Right.
They're like, so they're not letting you sell it to anyone. They're saying that you can only sell it to a museum, which is like in the right direction, but selling artifacts, as we all know, selling artifacts in general is not an ethical practice. So it's so interesting that they're like trying to make it less looter-esque, but they're really failing big time.
Right.
Watch some Indiana Jones or something there.
Yeah. Exactly. So this belongs in a museum.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, getting a lot of facts wrong here.
Yeah.
I'm finding a lot of bananas though.
I am finding quite a few bananas. So I know would be unethical for me to dig in real life, but do we want to see if we can dig something up right here and see what happens?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, it's actually. It says it's too rocky. Can't dig easily. So what do you do normally when it's too rocky? Like, it's too rocky here. Move on.
I think it depends on, like, if we were at the sites that I've worked at, we have very specific research questions and we need to dig in those places. But also when I've worked in the Maya area, we're digging in known buildings. So like I said, it's a well-established site. We know pretty well where buildings are, right? Because they have these big stone buildings, even the smaller, like I've worked in small, like residential neighborhoods, basically, like of the Maya, which is really cool. But they have like stone foundations, which isn't something that we find when we work here in Florida, right? Like we'll find post mold. So like, that stain in the ground of where a wooden post used to be. But in the Maya area, you can, in my experience at least, you can see those little mounds that are where the actual building still is. So there will still be these nice big stones that show you where the buildings are.
Wow.
And they do fill their buildings with lots of rocks. Like they'll build on top of the same structure over and over again. So they'll put in a bunch of fill before they build a new floor. You all right there, Mike? We're a little stuck.
Yeah, sorry. I know that was super. Like it was very interesting what you're saying. I was like, this is so embarrassing.
You're doing good. We've all been stuck in a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just getting my
He's no
torch
gamer.
out. I really wanted to point this bridge out by using the torch here.
You wanted to burn it so you could get out. I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of archaeology, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Tristan. So so they will actually fill their buildings with large stones. So you have to go in and pull the stones out by hand. It's a lot. So I've experienced that. Oh, this is very stony. Are we sure we're still gonna dig here? Yep.
I think we're stuck. Okay, all right. You know what I'm gonna do?
Jump on the bridge.
Walk around the bridge. There you go.
Get the
Hopefully
leeches.
there's no leeches or alligators. So, Tristan, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to say archaeology in general. Like I haven't worked in this area, of course, but CRM in general, like we'll have to dig an area, and sometimes it is really hard soil. And I have had cases where we had to dig with like mattocks and things. You just try to skim it like you would with a shovel, but that's the only way you're getting through that dirt. So there is that option when you have to.
And so, Rachel, when you worked in Belize, we had kind of mentioned in the notes, it said don't work with don't hire the locals. Did you all typically work with the local community at all?
Yeah.
So
that
you worked at.
Yeah, on the sites that all the sites I'm familiar with, they all will hire local guys to come and help do a lot of the archaeology. And honestly, they have been doing archaeology much longer than the students have. So a lot of times, they're the ones doing the digging, and we're kind of there to take notes until we kind of figure out what we're doing. And there's still, ethical concerns with working with local people and how you pay them and all of those things that always need to be thought about if you're going on a dig, and especially if you're organizing a dig, to make sure that they're fairly compensated for their work. But yeah, we work with local guys a lot. And a lot of times if it was the off season for archaeology, they would be, or at least some of them were working as like tour guides and things like that. So we worked. Yeah, I'm very surprised that she says in here, don't hire the locals.
Don't hire the locals. And then she had bribing money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bribe people, but don't pay them for their work.
Right. I guess maybe she's working with like the wrong people, I guess that's another question. I mean, obviously this game is, this is not archaeology. This is looting. This is pretty much looting.
Yeah.
How big of a problem is it? Like when you were in Belize, was it an issue at all, or like did the local community and government have, better control of what was going on?
Was looting a problem?
Yeah. Right.
Well, so I mean, that's I think always a concern at archaeological sites anywhere. I mean, even working here, the first thing people always ask is, "Oh, did you find any gold yet?" And I said, no, and we're not looking for gold. We're not gonna find any. But that mystique behind archaeology, that everything we dig up is gonna have something of monetary value in it. I think it's really prevalent all around the world. So it's always, I think, a concern. But that's also, when I think of issues like that and concerns like that, I would always also think about what else is happening in those places that is prompting people and making it lucrative for them to loot and to sell those things, right? So like what's going on in the economy that it's not, able to support people maybe, and things like that. So looting is always a problem. It's never an ethical thing to do, but I always try to kind of think about that other, I don't want to say other side. I don't want to like make it a huge gray area or anything, but, but what else is happening that's pushing people into those acts.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think you're right on the money. I mean, it kind of, if there's no opportunities and, and if people are willing to pay, money for these things, and there's some sort of like black market established for it, then, it's not totally surprising.
Yeah. And looting is, I think, the third largest artifacts are like the third largest black market in the world behind like drugs and guns. So it's a
Wow.
huge, like it's a huge issue all around the world. And people looting these sites, people buying these artifacts without knowing where they came from and not, you know, requiring them to be ethically acquired. So.
Right. Well, I have no idea where I'm at.
Yeah, we're in a deep dark cave.
So I would say that I would just bring in my map, but that dark area is the map. So, apparently she can't read her map even with this torchlight, apparently. So
Yeah.
I don't get that. That's interesting. All right. So I guess I'll just keep wandering around and trying to dig stuff. It was definitely easier to dig in the Cairo map than
Yeah.
this.
Sand everywhere.
Yeah. But this is actually good because this just lets people know, like, you're just going to wander around in the woods and until it gets dark and you're not going to find anything. And you may not make it if you go out and try to loot sites in the middle of nowhere. So maybe this is a good message after all.
Plenty of bananas, though.
Plenty of
Yeah, lots of bananas.
Yeah. So
And I
Rachel,
think
go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, are you a gamer at all? Have you played other games? I mean, I think one of the games that comes up a lot for at least archaeology is, of course, like Tomb Raiders. Have you ever played any of those?
When I was a kid, my dad had an old PlayStation console, and I started playing Tomb Raider, and I got stuck at one of the puzzles and didn't realize that you could. I want to say it's probably after the internet was a thing, but I didn't know how to use it, so I didn't realize that you could outsource these questions. So I just quit the game when I got stuck. So I played a little bit of one of the very early Tomb Raider games.
Early ones, yeah. We've had a few different F-panners on for some of the Tomb Raider games.
Nice.
In the past, but I think it's fun playing kind of indie. And I should note that this game was only $2.99 on Steam. So
Nice.
I know it kind of builds itself as an archaeology simulator, and there's a lot of problems, of course. Lots of issues in that front in terms of it not really being archaeology, but it is fun to play these independent games that developers put out. So maybe part Archaeology X part 2, they can maybe fix some of our concerns they can address.
Let us read a map when it
Yeah.
is.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But keep the jumping in. I like being able to jump. Oh no. I think I already came back here and didn't find any. There's got to be.
I think that's the bridge you got stuck on before.
Okay, well, fool me once, shame on you.
There was a cave back there, I think.
Okay.
That you had to clip your camera through to get through.
All right, let's see if I can find my way.
Yeah, I think that's
This is not going right here. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm at the other way.
Cave to nowhere.
Yeah, that's
Are you
just
sure?
no, the other way.
This way?
That's the way out.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. You mean like left?
Left
or right?
Head left. Head left.
This way?
Yes.
I tried to go that way.
There's slight delay. You did.
Okay.
If you go through to the end, there's a small cave
it's a
there.
hidden cave.
Yeah. Right
Well,
there.
that changes everything.
But I don't know that there's anything in here.
I don't think there's anything in here.
Why would they make a hidden cave and not put a thing in
Right?
it?
That's not how video games work.
I know. I played enough video games to know that.
Oh man. All right. Maybe we should try to get out of this cave. Let's try that.
So the dangers of caving.
Yeah, cave. Yeah. Has anybody ever done archaeology in caves? Have either of you?
I have not.
I have not. That would be amazing. There's some amazing archaeology happening in caves.
Yeah, there is. We would see old mines and things working out west, and we very intentionally did not go inside of them because that stuff is dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine, especially if you have a torchlight,
Yeah.
and no,
Yeah, it burns up all your oxygen.
I'm not sure if I don't think she has a radio either.
She's got money for a radio.
No compass. I don't think she has a compass
That's
either.
right. That's right.
Like everything you would really kind of probably should bring. But she brought a shovel.
And bribe money. And bribe money.
And bribe money. And she brought some water, so that's good. Okay, I think this is leading to somewhere.
Your health is degrading, I think.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to
I'm
do.
not sure
I
why.
guess I don't know. I need to find some more bananas, I think.
Here, your food's at 100%.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, I wonder how do I eat it?
It's
How
eating
do I
it.
eat
It
them?
says your food's at 100%. I think you're.
Oh, maybe I fell.
I think. Oh, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was when you clipped through the solid objects.
Or when I fell through that bridge, I think I
Yeah.
might have
All the
injured
time
her.
stuck in the bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
This
That-
game should retitle itself to "Stuck on the Bridge."
I feel like that would hurt. So
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's highly advised that people, don't fall off a bridge. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if I would cross that bridge in real life.
No.
If I saw that bridge, I wouldn't cross it.
I've seen some archaeologists do some really silly things, though.
That
I
is
feel
true.
like if we were in a group large enough with enough, personality in it, I could definitely see a group of archaeologists crossing that bridge.
You are 100% correct. It would
Use
depend on
that group
on how
mentality.
much sense the crew chief or PI has too. If they're like, "No, get off that." I've seen that as well. Yeah, I've
So-
seen them yell at some for doing that kind of thing.
It looks like I can't dig anywhere. Everything's too rocky, apparently. And so, Rachel, when you were in Belize, how long were you there again for?
So I did 2 field seasons that were like 2.5 to 3 months each.
Oh, wow.
So almost
Each.
6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And did you any exciting finds or unexpected finds when you were there?
Well, it was, like I said, it was one of my first field experiences, so everything was unexpected and amazing. So it was a really, I mean, the archaeology is fascinating. We were working at a really large site, and like I said, the first season I was there, we were out in like the neighborhood. So, a lot of people think of Maya archaeology and they just think like Chichen Itza, like the big pyramids and stuff.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Maya, I mean, there were lots of people living in this area. So there are these large, like settlements, like suburbs almost, outside of those centers where people were actually living their daily lives and, doing stuff. So we would go, that was where my first field season was we were digging in those little like neighborhood plazas. So that was, I mean, it was just amazing to see buildings on top of buildings, and like you'll dig down and you'll hit a plaster floor, and then you'll, take all your notes and everything, of course, as you're going, and then you take out the floor and you go down, and then there's another floor. You go down again and there's another floor. So that helps us
Wow.
get an idea of how old these things are. And and because that site is so well researched, they kind of knew exactly where to pinpoint everything, so they were able to go in and find specifically the places that they wanted to dig in order to find the answers to the questions. So they were looking at how are people, what kind of access to resources do people in these neighborhoods have. And at the site I was at, they actually had pretty egalitarian access, which is interesting. Like people in these little neighborhoods had a lot of access to the stuff that people in the city center had.
Oh,
wow.
But it's not 100%. Like we would find more of these hard to find goods at like kind of the bigger neighborhoods and in the city center. So, but that's not the same for every Maya city, right? Like every city has its own culture, has its own thing going.
Sure.
So it's really interesting to like see what we found, what we were digging, and then how it kind of compares to other Maya cities through time and just at the same time throughout the area.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so that was for your first field school. You said that because that was in the area people were living at. What about the second one?
So the second one, they were looking more at the city center, and they were trying to find out like what kinds of connections the people at the city center had with other cities and other areas in the region.
Okay.
So that was really, really cool too. Like they had one of the excavations was, a really large trench, like 20 feet down, something like really, really large, like deep trenches that are going into some of the larger buildings. And at that site, they've got evidence. They've done some isotope analysis of people. So isotopes are, oh man, all my isotope friends hate it when I say this, but it's kind of the idea that you are what you eat. All of them are screaming right now if they're listening to this. But this idea that like what you eat and where the food and the water that you take in is what your body uses to create your bones and your teeth and stuff. So when you look at different bones and different teeth and different isotopes, different like chemical signatures in those, you can tell like where someone grew up. So if you look at a specific type of isotope, you can look at like the water, what was in the water that people were drinking, like when they were a kid versus when they got older. So they've done studies like that on some of the burials that they found at these sites, and they know that people were growing up, you know, like at a site or in a specific region in Mexico, and then they were buried at this site in Belize, so they can get some ideas of how people were traveling and, you know, how far people were moving, and look at things like that, which is just, I mean, mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's very
they're
cool.
able to figure that out now. And so I guess with human burials, how I know, like in, of course, like in the United States and North America, and especially with indigenous burials, there's I think a lot more awareness about certainly past issues that you know, the treatment in human remains, particularly with Native American. How is that similar in Belize, or is it just kind of a little different?
Yeah, so I'm glad that we're talking about this. It's very different. So, you know, in the United States, we've got NAGPRA, the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, that really helps to kind of protect a lot of burial sites and a lot of human remains that were dug up in the past. And depending on where you are in the world, those laws and those protections are very different. So at least when I was working in this area, there was not the same level of protection for human burials.
Oh, wow.
So they would go, so they would dig burials, and that was kind of a regular archaeological practice. I don't know what the conversations are about the ethics of that, and if that's changed at all since I was there. But I know that was a pretty common practice when I was there.
Right. And then what happens with the artifacts that they do find? Do those go back to UCF? Do they stay in the country? What's kind of typical?
So typically they'll stay in the country. I don't know the specific laws, but I'm pretty sure there is a law that says that you're not allowed to take artifacts and remains out of the country, and you have to get like a special permit if you're going to move them like across country lines. So again, I'm sure there's a lot more detail than what I'm familiar with, but yeah, generally they stay in country. They're curated in country, either at a site or at a museum or something like that.
Well, that's great that it stays, you know, in the country, and it doesn't just go somewhere else. And I forgot to mention this. I know we have a couple people on our Twitch stream right now, so if you have any questions or comments or any advice on like where I should go, because I think I'm going to trap, just let us know in the stream chat, and we'll read out your questions or your comments. We always love it when we have some interaction on here. But until then, I'm just going to wander around and try not to drown, because I feel like I've almost drowned a couple times here.
Yeah, I noticed your health goes down faster in the water, I think.
Okay. Well, my health now why is it up now?
I have no idea.
Oh, wait, I think there's a button I can press to make the time go by faster, but I don't remember what it is.
Try
All right,
T.
that's my T for time. Oh, wait, you know what it is? I think, wasn't it the tent? We had to find our tent.
Maybe the tent.
Yeah.
We never had one, though, I don't think.
I didn't see one. Map looks a little better, but not a whole lot. So I think this is very. I mean, it's kind of good that we're like not able to loot, I guess.
You're right.
I always feel kind of like, you know, feel bad about digging up stuff on these games, but so maybe it's a good thing, or maybe she's allowed to now. Oh, she can run. Oh, there she goes. She's running. Okay, if I hold this down, she runs. She's kind of like Spider-Man. That's good. All right.
Yeah,
and what's you know, speaking of, you know, I think this game, you know, of course we've pointed out some of the issues with it, but it's not uncommon for particularly some video games that incorporate anything with artifacts in it to kind of have this mentality. What's been your experience, Rachel, in terms of being a public archaeologist, with people's kind of common assumptions about what archaeology is Has that been your experience too? Have they kind of had this idea that archaeology is essentially Indiana Jones?
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I am sometimes thankful that Indiana Jones is a thing because people at least know a little, like they at least know the word archaeology. But
Right.
yeah, in a lot of senses, I mean, Indiana Jones was a terrible archaeologist, and the ideas that were kind of circling around when archaeology first became, this kind of big thing. And one of the places that archaeology really took off was in the Maya area. So there's a lot of this kind of mystique and the way that people wrote about it, the way that archaeologists wrote about their sites and about finding them and about their, travels and, looking for this. It's very steeped in this like deep romantic like mystique about the jungle and discovery, and very colonial also, that we are, they're writing about these jungles as if people don't have not lived there in thousands of years and don't currently use these resources and these places that they're in. So it's this idea of like this kind of virgin land that they are going and they're going to take over, and they're going to learn all of these things about the past that no one else could possibly know about, because all of these people are gone. And that is, nothing could be farther than the truth from the truth. There are still Maya people all over Central, South, all over the world, and like in this area, like in Belize, in Mexico, in Guatemala, like there are still descendants of the people who built the sites that we so love to visit and to learn about. So I think Indiana Jones and this kind of popular idea of archaeology as you on your own going in and discovering something that is quote unquote lost is really, I think, is why a lot of people love archaeology and love the idea of it, but is also a really problematic because it doesn't get into any of the things that we've been talking about, that there are still descendants of these people that made these sites that are in the country, and their desires and their knowledge should be considered. What they want to happen to these sites should be considered, and should be actually an integral part of putting an archaeological project together. So, and I think because of Indiana Jones and a lot of other, popular media, this focus on artifacts in particular, and like this thing, like you can pull a thing out of the ground and learn about an entire culture from this one thing, without paying attention to the soil that's around it and the other artifacts that might be around it. And the time that it actually takes to do archaeology well is the time that it takes to document the type of soil it's in, to draw it, to make sure that exactly where it's coming from, what part of the building it's in, what type of soil it's in. Like, so we learn so much from soil that I really don't think popular media talks enough about soil color. And so
they should do an episode of on America Unearthed of just
one cell colors.
Right. I do.
Sandy clay.
Sandy clay. Yeah.
Yes.
We do have a comment from Buttery Barnacles. Says, "Why is the character holding the torch in their own face?" That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. That's an interesting perspective.
Especially when you dig, then it's even worse.
Yeah. She can apparently dig and hold a torch at the same time.
But
so
do it so you can see her arm, because it's
right. Oh, okay. Well, maybe. Here we go. Well, okay.
Whoa.
All right. Yeah, she's been around. She's really good. She's terrible at finding artifacts, which actually is a good thing.
Yeah.
But she's really good at finding bananas. She's incredible at finding these bananas. And so, Rachel, going on to your point about working with the communities more, do you see in like kind of the field headed in that direction? Because I know that hasn't necessarily within even the profession of archaeology always been the case. Do you see kind of a trend?
I do. And again, like I haven't been doing Maya archaeology, so this is just kind of a general my view of archaeology today. But I do see a lot of push for doing actual community archaeology, which is even more than public archaeology. Like I feel like our job is really to interpret archaeology to the public, whereas community archaeology, which I think we are moving towards, is asking questions about the past that the community that lives there wants to know, and that the descendants of those people want to know. So instead of just us coming in and being like, oh, we want to know where all the subsidian is coming from, or, you know, we want to know like what the trade is like, you know, asking, working with people and finding out what do they want to know, and how can we help them, how can we use the resources that we have as archaeologists, you know, often you know, funded by schools or you know, wherever we're getting our grant funding from. How can we use some of those resources to actually help the community answer questions that they have?
Well, that benefits us too, because the community often has questions we don't think of, and so we get to explore things that, you know, just may not have occurred to us. And so I know I have several excellent cases here in the U.S. where they did that, and they had some excellent questions that no one really explored before, and it was really fascinating.
And using the, you know, in all the community archaeology that I've heard of, you know, when you're actually creating the questions with the community, oftentimes they have questions to answer, or they have answers to questions that we would spend money and time trying to answer. It's like, well, you don't need to do that. We already know this.
Right.
We've been living here for, you know, generations. Like, we can answer this question for you. How about we like move on to this next thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that local knowledge is incredibly important, and it's good to see. I think you're right. It's I've noticed that too. It seems like at least as conversations are more mainstream than maybe they were, you know, even 5-10 years ago. But the big question I have for this is, how the hell are we gonna get out of here? Yeah, okay. I marked this thing. So that's the other thing you can do in this game. That I don't know. I think this pops up on your map. So let me pull up the map. Yeah, it does. It pops up on your map. So I guess when you locate things, you could sort of map them, I guess. Although this isn't necessarily the way archaeologists would go about mapping a site, just like putting caution tape around it.
Right.
It just looks like, it's like, did a murder happen here? Was this a car wreck? Like, what happened here? The big. Okay, so I did that just in case I got lost. So I'm glad me 5 minutes ago did that.
Right. Now you know you've been there already.
Yeah, but I mean, so far I've tried to kind of dig in certain spots, and it doesn't look like you can. So this is a lot different from the Cairo game, because with that one, you know, of course it was sand everywhere, so you can pretty much just, you know, randomly dig giant holes everywhere.
And you could dig in this. Not saying she should, but you know, if plants are growing in it, then it's diggable soil. That's kind of nonsense.
Right. Well, she's just used to Egyptian.
Yeah, she's used to sand.
She didn't bring the right tools to deal with this. She left her GPR back at home. She clearly didn't do like enough research.
Right.
Like
She's not sure if she's in Mexico or if she's in South America.
She's not really sure. She thinks she kind of knows where she's at, but you know, whatever. She's got her bribe money, so she'll be fine.
Yeah, she sees anybody.
Yeah. Too bad she doesn't have the Seek app. She could scan some of these plants.
Yeah, and level up.
I know what they are. Yeah. Have you done any of that, Rachel? Seek app during? Oh man, you've got. So I know you've been doing some site monitoring. We all have around the state been doing a lot of site monitoring. But there's this app by iNaturalist. It's called Seek, SEEK, and basically it uses machine learning technology. So and it's a free app, and I think it was funded through like the World Wildlife Federation and National Geographic, and the other organizations too put a lot of money behind it. But you can go up to any plant or even animal, and you can open up the app using the camera through their phone, and it will scan it and tell you exactly what species it is. It's amazing.
Oh, I have heard of this.
Yeah, you can get badges, and it's a fun little thing. Like when you're doing like site monitoring, because I feel like what we're doing right now is like this is like monitoring. We're just like walking around trying to find the site. You know, like this is pretty much what we've been doing the last few months.
I haven't done it in night with a torch though. So.
Oh yeah, I think I feel like it's daylight is coming.
It seems like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you just walk in a circle and see.
Okay, maybe I can actually see the map now. Okay, all right.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that map.
Well, now we know why I was going in circles. I was just trapped in this canyon, I guess. How does the terrain look? I know this is supposed to be in Yucatan, Mexico, so I
Yeah,
guess-
so I haven't worked in Yucatan, but this is actually like fairly similar to what I was seeing in Belize. We were in the rainforest, so we actually had like there were lots of mountains and hills, and it was very rocky and lots of palms and things like that. So it was much denser. Though, like we would not be able to walk around like this in the jungle in Belize without a trail that was cut.
right. Probably
So-
not wise either, even if you could. You know?
No,
Yeah.
and definitely not at night. Oh my
Alone.
You're like, yeah, you're like, I'm from Florida. I've been through this stuff before. No big deal. It's totally different. Yeah.
Yeah.
God. Even in Florida, I'm not walking around at night.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
no kidding. Yeah.
for one thing here,
Snakes.
as you found, there are cliffs to fall off of. You don't have that in Florida.
Nope.
Yes.
No, they're at least not very tall ones. We got some hills, I guess.
Right. Right.
In Tallahassee.
We
you got
have
some
to get
hills.
across these bridges in order to find our
Maybe.
site.
That's I think in most video games I've played, yes. I mean, you have to you have to go up, like there's a bridge, you have to cross it, and it gets me more and more dangerous each one you cross. So they like level up, make it harder.
Well, I
So
notice you're
maybe-
knocking boards out every time you go across. So
Yeah, the controls are a little difficult on this game. I
Yeah.
gotta say, I feel like if I had a joystick, that'd be better. But oh, come on.
That last step.
it's a Lulu.
This is dangerous. And so you mentioned, you had lived several months at a time, and you guys were just living in tents out there.
So we lived in huts, like they
Hut,
would
okay,
make like
yes,
a
yeah.
thatch roof hut. Yeah.
Mm.
So the beds were made out of like lashed sticks, basically. So I had to bring like I brought like my little Thermarest air mattress thing, and some people brought like full air mattresses, but yeah, and they were screened, so there was like screen around the hut to kind of keep out big animals, but you
Yeah.
know, we had mosquito nets that we had up to keep the mosquitoes away, and there were scorpions and tarantulas and
Oh,
snakes
so there
and-
were actually scorpions. Wow.
Yes, yep.
Wow.
Do you know that trick where you hold a flashlight up to your, like next to your eye, and you can like see the
No.
reflection from, oh, okay. So next time you want to get real freaked out, you can go like wherever there might be spiders or scorpions,
Okay.
and you take a flashlight and you hold it like next to your eye. So it's like pointing in the direction that you're looking. And they have that little film in their eye that cats have, right? That like reflects light back.
Okay.
So if you have it next to your eye and you're looking where the flashlight is pointing, you'll see the reflection from all the little tiny spider eyes, like either in the
Oh.
grass or in the
Oh.
thatching above your bed or anywhere. Yeah.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Does it work with torches? Can you use a torch?
I don't think it would. I think that's more dangerous. Like that
Yeah.
would be more of a hazard than
You
I
wouldn't
guess.
want to put that to next to your face, probably.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, as
Especially if there's
Buttery
hairspray.
Barnacles pointed out.
Right.
Don't put a torch in your
Yes.
face. I did not know that trick. I'm gonna have to totally.
It's very.
I don't know if I
scary.
really want to try
I
it.
don't think I do either. Mike.
Yeah.
Like if you're going camping and like you're like walking to the bathroom, if you're like at a site with facilities or like you're walking around, like maybe try it. Or if you're just like outside for a nighttime walk, try it. But yeah, if you
Mhm.
have to actually sleep outside with no protection, don't.
Yeah,
You don't want to do
Yeah,
it.
you don't.
Wouldn't
Better
recommend
not
it.
to know. Yes.
Oh, I fell again.
Oh no.
Well, Tristan, I will never make fun of you when you.
I don't believe
Oh.
that for a second.
I mean, it's comedy gold. I mean, it's really
Yeah,
funny.
right.
But it's not funny when it's happening to me. 'cause it's no longer
Over and
funny.
over.
It's not funny anymore. I don't like this anymore. This is not cool.
Jump. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the one I keep falling off of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, take your time. You can do this. Oh no.
They need to really come and fix these boards. This is very dangerous.
Yeah. Who's they though? That's what the bribe
Well, that's a
money's
good
for, to
point.
fix
Yeah,
a bridge.
The bribe money. Yeah. Maybe she should fix this bridge.
Right?
There we go. Okay. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it.
Nice.
Now that we have 10 minutes left, I
right.
think I'm starting finally getting the hang of it. All right. There we go. Jumped over that. Okay. I'm just going to keep following this bridge.
Yeah.
It's probably at the end of it, maybe there's going to be something worth, all this. effort.
All this hassle.
Yeah. I jump it again. All right.
And if you read old like documents about from like those early archaeologists in like the Maya area, they talk about, I mean, there are less rope bridges, but they talk about how they'll be in the jungle and it's really dense. And as they're walking through, like, I mean, I've seen sites that people, you know, quote unquote, surveyed that area and like missed a huge building, but like you can walk 6 feet away from a building and not
Oh,
see
wow.
it because of how dense it is.
That's
Wow.
why
So-
I assume LiDAR is making such headway in those areas, because
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually I would
Yeah.
so
what is LiDAR to start with?
for anybody that doesn't know?
Sorry.
No.
I'd continue LiDAR. Sorry. So I was really trying not to say something, but I that was really disappointing. I just
Oh, you were doing so well. We're gonna get it, Mike. We're gonna get it.
One day.
So LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. So I like to think of it as like a really fancy like laser pointer, or like a couple million laser pointers hooked up to a bottom of a plane. And the plane will fly over like the Belizean rainforest, for example, and it will like shoot all these lasers, like a couple thousand, like 100,000 per second or something. Like it's an insane amount of laser points. And the idea is that some of the laser points will hit the tops of trees, some will hit the middle of trees, and some will actually hit the ground. So you end up with what is called a point cloud, where all of these singular laser points have hit. And you take it and you run it through a computer, and you basically tell the computer what you want, where the ground is, and like which points hit the ground, and it will go through. Oh no.
I know, this is terrible. Sorry. Keep going. Keep going.
It's okay. It's okay.
Pay no attention.
I'm
to
very
what just
invested in getting across the screen.
I know. You might be disappointed, but
so you tell a computer like what to look at for the ground, and it can actually take out the trees. You'll fly over a jungle, and you can tell it to take the trees out, and it will take out the trees, and you can see basically bare earth. And there are, depending on how many laser points you get, like not all LiDAR is this accurate, but you can actually get like a few centimeters of detail. So there are many sites in Belize, including the one that I worked at, where they would fly over the jungle. They would do LiDAR, and they would take out the trees, and you can see all like teeny, like 3 centimeter tall, like foundations of buildings.
That's
and that's
amazing.
actually part of the way that they realize that these sites are so huge, is that, you know, because not all of the people are living in giant, you know, pyramids. They're also living in like smaller buildings.
Right.
So when they did the LiDAR, that's how they were able to figure that out. And they're able to go in and actually ground truth it. So instead of wandering around, you know, like we're doing, and, you know, just kind of, well, I hope we find something, maybe. Let's see.
hope I don't fall off this bridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
They can make a map using LiDAR and say, okay, there should be something here, and, you know, use their compass, which we don't have in this game. So
Yeah,
we
for
are-
some
Right.
reason.
yeah.
It's
So
too
even if
much.
we knew where stuff is, we still couldn't find it.
Right.
But,
Compass was too expensive. We
yeah.
had to we had to get oil for our torch.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So you were when you were there, had they done any LiDAR yet, or
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that my advisors were the first people to use LiDAR in the jungle, and, you know, they took it from other, you know, as archaeology is wont to do, we will take other sciences technology and apply it to archaeology. So they used it, and that's part of how they were figuring out the maps of how big these cities actually were, and how we were figuring out where the neighborhoods that we were going to dig were actually in. So then they could go out and clear a trail for us to go and actually walk and like get to the sites and stuff like that.
it's so cool. Oh, I did it. I did
Got
it.
it.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think I was gonna do it. Oh, there's
You
more
did great.
bridges.
There are at least 2 more bridges.
You gotta be kidding me. There's more
I
bridges.
think it's getting worse too.
Yeah. Yep. Well, at least we know we're on to the right track. Like, oh,
Yeah, and, and the accuracy of, or potential accuracy of LiDAR too, is just really exciting. I know of a case here in North America where someone did LiDAR to make a 3D model of an earthen mound. And then like a couple weeks later, pigs came through and tore up a whole bunch of the the site. And so he got contacted again. Can you give us an estimate of how much dirt was moved? And he said that he could give them down to a cubic centimeter how much dirt was moved.
Wow,
That's
incredible.
awesome.
Which is just so cool.
Yeah, she definitely needs some LiDAR. She needs a compass. She needs a GPS device.
She
needs some
kind of has
LiDAR.
one, but it doesn't have a backlight. It's an e-ink GPS device because it's dark at
yeah.
night.
Dark at night. Yeah. She needs to
Torch
get a
doesn't
battery
work though
for it.
either. Yeah.
Torch. Yeah. Makes it a little bit better with the map. Well, we've got just a few more minutes left. Do we want to try? I guess I could try the bridge one more time.
You can do
See
it.
if-
I believe in you.
Grab some bananas.
You really shouldn't. You should not believe in me.
There's
No.
only at least 2 more you haven't gotten to.
I know. Well, that we know of. I
That-
have a
yeah,
feeling that there's
more.
more and more bridges.
Yeah. Probably
It's
get
really
down
makes me
to
appreciate fast travel and
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's.
and
I mean, that's a revolutionary thing they added to video games.
good
is
platforming
fast travel.
controls.
Or like, I don't know, a save point would be nice
Right.
for this game.
This isn't the bridge you
Like,
want.
I'm a big fan of save points. Oh, this is not the bridge.
This
I'm-
goes to the caves that don't go
okay,
anywhere.
we don't want to go there. Can't find my way out. All right, so let's see here. I'm just gonna keep walking until until we run out of time, basically. Well, hopefully, I'm kind of glad we didn't actually find any artifacts.
Right.
In the game. At least
I
so
think
far.
this
Who
is
knows?
pretty accurate to a lot of archaeology when you don't when
Actually,
you don't have a specific site you're going to. you know?
Right. Yeah.
a
You
lot
like,
of walking around.
yeah, you get to the GPS point and it's not there. The site's where to go. I don't
Right.
know.
Especially if it was recorded before GPS. Yes.
Right. Okay, there's the bridge. There's the bridge. Okay, we got just a few minutes. I'm gonna try it.
Okay.
See if I can do this. Maybe. So I guess one way we can kind of wrap this up is Rachel,
Mhm.
I know we've talked a lot about the game, but kind of what's your overall impressions of this? Is this game says it's an archaeology simulator. Do you agree with that or disagree?
Well, I haven't seen us actually do any semblance of archaeology. I would say the mechanics look a little problematic. As you
Mhm.
mentioned, no save points. We're having a real hard time on these bridges.
Yeah.
So maybe a little too realistic for the survey part of archaeology, where you're just
Right.
wandering
Right.
aimlessly and potentially lost in the woods.
Yeah. Does this make you feel like you're out doing some site monitoring for HMS right now? Heritage Monitoring Scouts. minus the
Yes.
minus the bridge.
Yeah. Bananas too.
Yeah. Tristan, how about you? What are your impressions of this game?
I think,
Or this
yeah,
map,
this
I
is a
mean.
lot of survey does end up being kind of like this, but also I'd say the journal is not like we had problems with some of the content of the journal, but the fact that looks like some fairly thorough notes being recorded, that's
look at
kind of
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they show actual artifacts here.
Yeah.
Does this look like anything you recognize, Rachel, at all?
So I mean, I was never able to read glyphs, but I see their attempts at glyphs. So a lot of these are like, in the right family
Mm.
ish. There is always in games like significant overlap between like Maya, Inca, like all of Aztec
Right.
designs. So it's hard, So there's a little bit of that in these for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is really interesting. And we
Yeah,
do
they've
find
got-
lots of pots and lots of really different types of pots.
Mhm.
Oh, what's this? Oh,
Oh,
my
sorry, let me go
goodness.
back.
I wish I remembered how to read glyphs.
Oh, is that one thing you had to learn to do?
Yeah,
is-
so I used to be able to write like a couple of
Oh,
things.
cool.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And I actually looked, I was looking on my bookshelf to see if I have my Reading Maya Glyphs book
Oh, cool.
before this, but it is at my
Could you write
office.
your name in Mayan?
I
Could you
could.
go ahead-
That was one of my assignments, was to write my name.
Oh man, I want to learn how to. I want to learn how to do that. That was just how I would write my name. From
It could
now
be a
on.
workshop there.
Yeah, it could. That would be really cool program
Yeah.
actually. All right. Well, we're actually a little bit past our hour, so I think the general consensus is, just like the last map, there are some problems with this in terms of the archaeology. But you know, and a lot of crossing of bridges here, but you know, similar in the sense that archaeology requires monitoring and walking around and survey, and this is kind of what you do. So I want to thank Tristan. Thanks again for coming on, and especially I want to thank Rachel for coming on for the first time for Archaeology Arcade. I hope you'll come back. I hope we can do another game, maybe not Archaeology X. Maybe you can find a more like ethical archaeology game and bring you on for that, because we'd love to have you back. And is there any programs you got going on right now that that you want to promote? I know you do the Facebook Live. So if you don't follow FPAN Southwest and Southeast, you really should. They've got fantastic content. They've got a YouTube channel. So I'll put all that stuff in the link of this video whenever we put up on our YouTube channel. But if you've got anything else coming up, please, you know, let people know.
Yeah, really the Facebook Lives have been the big thing, the big push. So yeah, every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, I do a Facebook Live on our FPAN Southwest page. We have a couple that just kind of stay up on the page. We've had some really fantastic guest speakers on there, so those are always up on the page. And I post them to our Instagram page as well, which is also FPAN Southwest. So yeah, check those out. We've done over a year of live videos.
It's hard to believe, but yeah, they're always so awesome. I love your Facebook Live videos. And I don't know how you come up with new content all the time. It's amazing. I don't know how she does it. I'm like,
it's a challenge.
Yeah,
but it's
we're just
fun.
like, yeah, we're just like, we'll just play video games and then see where it takes us. But yeah, well, thanks again for coming on. And then someone says, Sierra Sin says we should play Uncharted. So yeah, that's actually a game that we've been looking at potentially planning in the future. So that's definitely one that maybe Rachel, maybe you'll come back on. We can. Do Uncharted.
They have. So I've played Uncharted, and they have a whole level that is quote unquote like Central American Maya, Inca, you know,
that'd
crossover.
Be perfect. We should.
Right.
I'd be down for that.
Okay,
excellent
cool.
recommendation.
Yeah, very good. And I've been here.
You have been here before.
These are here because I was trying to duck under all this. So
yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I think we've got another one scheduled for next Friday. We're doing that C14 dating again with Janine Johnson, and then later in the month we're gonna play When Rivers Came Trails, which was actually developed by some indigenous tribal groups. So it's kind of the indigenous version of the Oregon Trail, but it's about removal in the 1890s. Dr. David Lewis from Oregon State is going to join us for that, because he actually was one of the indigenous content creators for that game. So we're looking forward to that. So lots of other stuff. And then, yeah, check out Southwest and everything else on our YouTube channel. And we'll see everybody next time.
Bye.
I'll fall for the end.